Dublin City Council has said a full review is underway into flooding in the capital overnight, which will look at the timing of weather forecasts. The heavy downpours combined with already saturated grounds caused a number of flooding incidents across North Dublin. A total of 46 millimetres was recorded at the Mellows Road in Finglas overnight. The average monthly rainfall in Dublin for February is 50 millimetres. 9.6 millimetres of rain fell within a single hour.
Cars submerged in water, the owners alerted too late to safely move them. The underground car parks in Clongriffin in North Dublin began to flood last night. Some residents were left without electricity as a result of power boxes in the basement car park. This is the water coming up the stairwell.
Yeah, this is the water coming up the wall. I could not sleep last night at all. And you know, it's a new car. It's a new car and I still have to pay the mortgage. So, yeah, it was so fast, we cannot really react. Like in 20 minutes, you know, the water level just increased.
Electricity went, have me told, and that's coming back on. Like, we all have young kids. I have a young 6-month-old baby. Like, how do you feed him? How do you keep him warm? It's just, there's no, from the management company, there's no updates. We're just left in complete dark.
Residents looked on today as water was pumped out of the car parks.
By the time we came, the fire brigade told us we cannot get into the water because there might be electricity which is passing through the water, and it is a hazard.
This is the worst of the 3 car parks that have been affected by the flooding. Some of the cars here have been almost fully submerged. Once the water has been pumped from the car parks, residents will then be able to fully assess the damage. Heavy rainfall caused flooding in other parts of North Dublin also, with some roads closed this morning. Fingal County Council posted images on social media of the routes closed due to flooding or fallen trees, while Dublin Airport Authority posted this footage showing a bus in difficulty and advising drivers to be careful on their journey to the airport, with many diversions in place. In Drumcondra, the River Talca was swollen and the heavy rainfall has left Talca Park and Richmond Park pitches unplayable, resulting in this evening's League of Ireland clashes being postponed. Diane Connor, RTE News, Dublin.
Well, our Eastern correspondent Samantha Library is standing by now at Met Éireann. And Samantha, you've been speaking to a number of local authorities in Dublin today. What have they been saying?
Well, Tommy, this time yesterday there was a deluge of rain over Dublin, and that downpour continued throughout the evening, but it wasn't until 2:30 a.m. this morning that Met Éireann issued a yellow level rainfall warning for the capital. North Dublin a couple of hours later woke up to a number of serious flooding incidents, as you saw there in Diane Connor's report. The Clongriffin area, the Ballymun area, and parts of Fingal in the north of the county also very seriously impacted throughout the day. Now, Dublin City Council released a statement earlier today saying that a full review of that weather event, the response to it and the timeline of the weather forecast and weather warnings is already underway. And a number of sources in local government told me that the warning that came at 2:30 a.m. came too late for them, and that any warnings that had come in advance of that were insufficient for them to be prepared for the level of rain that fell in Dublin overnight. Now, Met Éireann for their part say that they were monitoring the rainfall throughout the night, and they say that when the rain reached a particular threshold, they issued that weather warning, but they said the rain was heavier than expected. Here's Mark Bowe from Met Éireann.
The situation was quite complex last night, and it was quite evolving essentially. So as we were going through the evening and into the overnight hours, the situation rapidly evolved. So we saw more rainfall than had previously been indicated fall over the eastern parts of the country. So that's why the decision was made to issue the rainfall warning overnight for the potential impacts that people would face this morning.
Now, local authority crews have been working throughout the day to deal with the fallout from last night's flooding. Met Éireann, for their part, have issued 3 new weather warnings that apply for the next 24 hours or so. There's a yellow low temperature and ice warning for the whole country. That comes into effect at 9 o'clock this evening and runs until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, Saturday. And they're warning of temperatures of between -1 and -3 degrees. The second warning is a yellow rain warning for Cork and Kerry. That that comes into effect from midday tomorrow until midnight on Sunday. And the third warning is a yellow rain snow warning for the counties Cavan, Donegal, Longford and all of Connacht. Again, that comes into effect from midday tomorrow until midnight on Sunday. So as you can see, Tommy, this what feels like unending bad weather is not yet at an end.
Samantha Library at Met Éireann, thank you. Well, returning to our main story, and there has been criticism of the forecaster Met Éireann following serious flooding in parts of Dublin overnight. A yellow rain warning was issued for 2:36 this morning, taking immediate effect. Some have said the warning came too late. For more, we're joined by Linda Hughes, forecaster with Met Éireann. Thanks for joining us, Linda. I'll cut straight to the chase. Why was Met Éireann so late in issuing that yellow warning last night?
OK, well, what happened was a low pressure system to the west of Ireland steered in weather fronts yesterday through last night and into this morning. They brought particularly heavy and intense rainfall to parts of the Midlands and East in particular, and some smaller rivers and urban drainage systems then were inundated and caused flooding. Now, our forecasters' aim is to predict the amount of rainfall there's going to be and also to warn the public if we feel that the amount of rainfall is going to cause significant impacts. So forecasters would have been looking at this over the previous few days, and what happened was the amount of rain that fell over the 24-hour period was higher than what was forecast.
As we saw there, almost a month's worth of rain in one part of Dublin last night. Many will be wondering, though, how is something like that missed?
Well, we use numerical weather prediction, so we have various different models that we would have been looking at in the days leading up to this, and all models were forecasting lower amounts of rainfall. Now, we forecasters work 24/7, so we do have forecasters working right throughout the night, every night of the year, and it was an evolving situation overnight last night. So forecasters would have been watching this closely, the position of the rain, the intensity of the rainfall on radar and the amount that was falling, and then it was deemed appropriate then at 2:30 to issue the yellow rainfall warning at that stage. Now, that was to create awareness for the public, maybe getting up this morning and starting their commute, that there had been issues overnight and that there would be more rainfall on waterlogged soils, and that there could be further impacts through the commute this morning then.
Minister James Browne made the point a few weeks ago. He said that Met Éireann should use judgment as well as mathematical formula, because as some people were going home from work yesterday evening in Dublin, they would have noticed that there was really heavy rainfall. I wonder, should Met Éireann have made a judgment call that this was an unusual and a significant rainfall event?
Well, we do use thresholds for rainfall warnings, but we do take into account the conditions that have preceded these events. I mean, we are very, very aware of the amount of rainfall that has fallen in the east in particular. We're aware of the river levels, the saturated ground. So if we do feel that rainfall that we're forecasting is going to cause impacts, we are going to issue a warning. We want to give the public as much notice as we can, but in this instant, the amount that occurred was higher than what was expected by
I know some
forecasters.
local authorities are reviewing what happened last night. Do you think there's lessons to be learned from Met Éireann from this as well?
Well, we're learning lessons from every event that occurs, whether it's storms or flooding events. I mean, we do take into account everything, and we're always learning. Our models are being improved all the time going forward. So we are, everything that happens and every forecast that we get right, or sometimes it does happen that we don't get it exactly right. We're always learning, and we do really want to provide appropriate warnings to the public.
Now, there has been some reprieve this afternoon. The unfortunate news is that there are more warnings coming into effect later tonight. A low temperature and ice warning, I'd imagine, given that the ground is so saturated, that there will be some very treacherous conditions tomorrow.
Yes, so a nationwide yellow low temperature and ice warning starting at 9 p.m. That's until 10 a.m. tomorrow. So temperatures widely will get down to -3 degrees tonight, -4, possibly a bit lower in some places. So with the wet conditions out there after all that rainfall, fall. There will be some treacherous conditions through tonight and into tomorrow morning with icy stretches expected. And then after that, I'm afraid there is more unsettled weather for tomorrow. So a status yellow rain warning for Cork and Kerry, a rain and snow warning for Connacht, Cavan, Longford and Donegal. Those all starting at midday until midnight tomorrow. So we are expecting some further heavy rain and sleet and snow, particularly that snow expected across the west and the northwest tomorrow. And thankfully, temperatures increasing a bit later on in the day. So while there will be snow, will transition to sleet later on and into tomorrow night.
We've had a pretty bleak winter, some poor weather conditions. We're in mid-February. When do you think these wintry conditions will start to fade away? When can we expect better weather?
Well, it'll be coldest for tonight and tomorrow. Temperatures recovering a bit. Possibly some cold nights again. Monday night is looking particularly cold too. And really throughout next week, low pressure is set to dominate. So it doesn't look like we're going to see much of an improvement over the next week at least.
All right, OK. Linda Hughes of Miss Éireann, thanks very much for joining us on 6-1.